Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the garage for another edition of Andy the Gabby Cabby. Hope you're all doing well this evening. Now, before I begin, I need a very big favour from all of you. What I'm going to discuss this evening is of the utmost importance. If you've got social media, be it X, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it happens to be, can you plaster this live stream everywhere, please? Because I need to get as much traction on this as possible. Not for me, but for somebody else, and you will get the idea as we go. Now, over the last day or two, it's become very clear to me that the mainstream media has a large amount of control over the narrative. They put in front of the general public what they want to discuss, what they want you to know. And of course, we've had the trial of this fella over the last couple of days, Tommy Robinson. And, what's been going on with that. And there's been journalists and, a media frenzy and everything else. The long and short of it, I think the judgment for this to do with Tommy has been put back till November. So we will cover that another time. But all the while you've got people like Tommy getting the exposure they do in the mainstream media, you get a situation where there are other people that don't get the exposure and potentially more explosive cases, more explosive situations that need the exposure and they're not getting it. Now, what we're going to discuss this evening is something that can have potentially gargantuan consequences for not only government, not only elected MPs, the election system itself, but for everybody. Now, another person I want to tell you about is Graham Moore, and here he is in the thumbnail, and you can see the title of tonight's live stream, Democracy on Trial, and there's a ballot paper torn in half there, cheated, and that gives you some idea of what this is all about. Now, here's a picture of me and Graham Moore at a recent seminar he did in Leigh-on-Sea in Essex, and you can see all of the different posters on the back which contain basically all of our rights under English law. And here is another one of Graham here, and you can see from the flag the only thing that Graham cares about is the rule of law and England. After all, he is English, I am English, and we have to care about doing the right thing for the right reasons. Now, to give you a breakdown of what happened to the uninitiated, Graham stood in the Runcorn Helsby by-election way back when, and he lost. He actually only got 50 votes, and the MP we got was Sarah Pochin, as you all know, the Reform MP for Runcorn Helsby, and she was returned on a majority of 6 votes, and that was after a recount. Well, the problem is, or the problem exists, that more votes were seen than just 50. Another election a decade ago, which Graham stood in, he got 50 votes again. According to the Royal College of Statisticians, the chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. 2 elections, 10 years apart in different areas. Think about it. Something doesn't make sense. There was another issue with Rochdale, I think, and another couple of places as well. And with comments I've seen being left by subscribers to the channel, we all know that this is a widespread issue with our system of elections. You see the problem. Now, I want to show you something very briefly before we move on. And that's this document here. This is the Bill of Rights. And you can see this. It's in the public domain and it's on the government website. And the thing that I want to highlight specifically is this here. Freedom of election. The election of members of parliament ought to be free. Okay? Free and fair. That means we decide, they get returned. It's as simple as that. Now, there's obviously some kind of impropriety going on with our elections. There's some kind of issue with our elections and it needs stomping on. You know, when you look at the likes of Advance, when you look at the likes of Reform, and when you look at the likes of other parties saying what they're going to do and what they're not going to do when they get into power, none of it means a damn if the basic building block of our democracy is defunct. No good. We need it sorting. Now, there is a very obvious cheat going on. And what I want to do is show you a video here where Graham explains it. Those of you that are regular to the channel will know it, but it's worth reinforcing. There is a little bit of a pause at the beginning of this video, so please bear with me.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Yes, it's me, Graham Moore, otherwise known as Daddy Dragon, the president of the English Constitution Society and the leader of the English Constitution Party. I need to explain a very, very quick explanation of what's going on and what we're highlighting in court. We need to get the 3rd and 4th and 5th of November 2025 is the election hearing. 2 High Court judges travel from London to Chester to listen to 4 people's evidence, 5 people's evidence that the election is a fraud. The election is a sleight of hand. I want you to understand something. Imagine a magician, and the magician has magicians' helpers, assistants, the magician's assistants. They're all part of that illusion in distracting the public from what they're actually doing, right? Which is sleight of hand, right? Many of those magicians' tricks, and you can confirm this by looking online, are patented and protected. So, because there's an intellectual property right to the magician's illusion, that's how he earns his money. That's how the magician's assistants earn their money. Imagine taking that principle and put it into an election where the returning officer is the magician, where the count officers that he brings into the fold are all trained in the illusion. And the illusion of election is where they count the votes, big stack like that. They then have, say, 50 votes, and then they put, let's say the Conservative Party are there, 50 votes. And then they put a Labour one there and a Labour one there. They clip it as a bundle. It looks like 50 votes for the Labour Party, right? It's not. It's 50 votes for the Conservatives, but they've just put them straight into their bundles. That is the illusion. Where does that happen? It happens in the place in the centre of the count, not on the edge, but on the centre, where the count agents can't see the sleight of hand. It's the same, that method of operation, and it is an MO of how a fraud is perpetrated on the people. When you get that situation happening, and by the way, it's happening all over the country, right, and various other different, but the actual method of operation of the fraud or the illusion is the same. So think of a magician and the way in which they create an illusion, you'll go, whoa, right? The returning officer is doing the same thing. Instead, he is the magician of the election. And what he's doing is highly illegal. That's what you've got to look for. And many people have spotted it. We're the only people to take it forward with 4 witnesses that are going to say, we saw that, right? Then their illusion is broken, right? And once it's broken, everyone knows this is how they have created the red wall in the north of England. Not by the opinion of the people, not by the people giving their vote freely in a free election, but by the returning officer, sleight of hand, like a magician, telling people and appointing their own MP, right? Because it's no longer the representative of the people, it's the representative of the returning officer. And that's what you've got to understand. This is no minor case, right? It's an illusion. We're showing you what the illusion is. We are spelling out the method of operation in that court hearing. We're the only people to do it because they put all of these blocks in the way. That's why the 16th of October, 2025, when the returning officer and Sarah Pochin are trying to block this case on the minorest of minor technicalities. And it's for you to stand there and say, we want to listen to this election hearing, we want to see the evidence, and we want to hear the count agents and the candidate explain how this fraud works. And then it blows apart the illusion of democracy. Thank you.
I hope everybody understood that. So what you've got to envisage is the fact that when all the ballot papers go in, they're stapled together in bundles of 50. And to work out who's won, 50, 100, 150, 200. So there's no individual recount. So they could have a bundle of Tories, stick a Labour on the bottom and the top, and all of a sudden it looks like a bundle of Labours, which opens the door to widespread cheating and bullshit everywhere. And if you look at the situation as well with the two constituencies that Graham stood in, what he's talking about here, they were both Labour, 10 years apart. And remember, Sarah Pochin won after a recount. And let's be very clear about this. Graham never expected to win. This was about getting the word of England out. This was about pushing out things about our Bill of Rights, our inalienable rights, the English Constitution. That's what it was all about. You know, if you did a recount with this election, the chances are Sarah Pochin will probably wipe the floor with it even more than she did. But based on what Graham is saying there, what you have to realise is people are being selected rather than elected by the people. There is a hell of a difference. Now, there was a directions hearing. There was actually two of them, which Graham attended. Graham has been reading constitutional law, English constitutional law, for the last 30 years. He went there, represented himself, represented you, and he got this petition hearing granted under the Representation of the People Act. To be clear, anybody that either voted in an election or anybody that stood in an election, if they're not happy with the result, I can stand up and say, hang on a minute, I'm not happy with that, and pursue it. This is what Graham is doing, using the law. Now, what happens if a petition hearing is granted? Very senior judges end up convening a court in that constituency, right, where the election, supposed or alleged fraud happened, and it's then dealt with. Now, what can happen? You can either have an individual ballot recount, so instead of the bundles, rip them apart and count them one at a time. If there's widespread evidence of fraud, it can be annulled. Or there could be some other remedy, or Graham could get told, well, this ain't happening, geezer, you know, forget it. He's doing all this himself. And I refer back to the earlier comment I made with regard to the mainstream media and their coverage of Tommy. Okay, let's file that over there for a second. This is massive, because if it's proven there was a problem in Runcorn and Helsby, I've actually seen the evidence. There was a problem in Runcorn and Helsby. It's just getting a judge to stand up and listen and say, yeah, okay, I agree with you. Then that calls into question literally every election, every by-election, every general election ever. Andrew Bridgen had a problem when he tried to get re-elected, and it makes you wonder about that too, doesn't it? Have a look at this. Parliament loses its sovereignty when returning officers and their teams appoint MPs through cheating. The electors of a constituency are the true sovereigns, and the Commons is their domain. Once this principle is violated, even once, Parliament's sovereignty is lost. If you are not part of society's governance, you're a slave. Communists don't want you to vote. Think about it. Anyone that tells you not to vote is collaborating with the enemy. You have to vote. you have to voice your consent or remove it. But that's very important there. You know, the returning officer deciding who is elected, then Parliament is no longer sovereign. You know, we have this argument about sovereignty all the time, but it's very, very basic to understand. We are sovereign. The sovereignty lies with us. We lend it to them for a period of 4 to 5 years. They give it back afterwards. And if there's a basic breakdown in that situation, remember, free and fair elections, we got a big fucking problem. Now, what's very telling to me, there are political parties out there at the moment who this will affect very, very much. They're not talking about it. They won't touch it. The mainstream media need to be aware of this. They're not talking about it. They're not touching it. So-called new media need to be aware of this. And I am the only one talking about it. I'm not new media. I'm a working class geezer who drives a cab for a living. But I get it. I've got a gob. I've got a YouTube channel. I get it. Everybody needs to get it. And I'll sit here banging my drum until I'm blue in the face, until as many people see this problem as possible. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on this stream. It's very, very important. I'm looking at the numbers. We've got 364 watching at the moment. It's just dropped a little bit. And that shows you how they try and slide this under the rug, because usually I get double those numbers by this stage. So please get it shared. Now, I want to read something to you, which I wrote myself, and it's very relevant to what's going on, right? One thing you have to understand, when I believe in a cause, I will not stop promoting it, pushing it, and doing whatever I can to raise awareness of it, and particularly when something's as big as this. The cause I believe in more than anything else is England, our laws, and the sanctity of our elections, which is the most important thing. That's what people don't realise. If we've got no sanctity in our elections, forget it. It's over. It's done. One thing you all need to get is that free and fair elections are a fundamental right given to us. It's a common law right. And if that's not working, then the basic building block of our entire democracy is broken. The Runcorn and Helsby by-election revealed a very big problem with that process, as witnessed by more than one person. Graham Moore, leader of the English Constitution Party, has exercised his and anyone else's right under the Representation of the People Act to call an election petition to show evidence of the fact a serious problem existed. This is in November. So this hearing is in November. That's the petition hearing. And what you need to understand is the hearing that's on Thursday, this Thursday at the Royal Courts of Justice in London, is an appeal hearing to try and get the November one quashed, to try and get it stopped. So that's the difference. And we need to throw everything we can at this appeal hearing to make sure that they are unsuccessful. They're seriously worried about the outcome. They've been granted a hurried appeal, which is to be heard this Thursday, the 16th, at the Royal Courts of Justice in London. They do not want the truth to come out. People need to understand how serious this situation is. It could potentially bring down the government, because it would show the serious problem that exists with our voting system. And it is a serious problem. If we're to change things peacefully, it's vitally important that our votes count and that the sanctity of our elections are returned to us. Without that, everything else is a waste of time. Graham Moore is taking this massive case on his own, and he's doing it not for himself, not for the fame or some record. He's doing it for you, your families, your friends, your futures. Please, if you're able to turn up on Thursday to support this, we need to get behind it. And at the very least, can I ask everyone to retweet this as far as possible? They're cheating. It needs to stop. This case has already totted up £25,000 in costs for Graham, and it probably won't stop at that. This is a working class bloke with 30 years of English constitutional knowledge. What price? Freedom. Thank you for your attention in this matter. That's what we're dealing with, folks. This is no joke. No joke. I've got in my possession, which Graham sent me, a 23-page skeleton argument which contains everything he'll be talking about in this actual hearing. There is evidence there, very powerful, very convincing evidence to prove and to show beyond a reasonable doubt that we got big problems with our elections. Now, that tweet I just showed you, or that X post that I just showed you, let's get it right, I asked people to repost it everywhere, and I tagged as many people as I could think of, news outlets, and some high-profile people that I'm in contact with. High-profile political people that I'm in contact with. The outcome of this trial will affect them. I thank everybody for reposting that did. And it's very telling, those that didn't. So either you were aware of the problem, you were part of the problem, or you don't want to help fix it. I can't quite make my mind up which it is. But pretty serious. Now, with all this court stuff, it costs a lot of money. A lot of money. Thousands. Consider this. The returning officer could, at any time, have ordered an individual ballot recount. He chose instead to challenge this at every opportunity. He used council tax funds to do that. A returning officer is a very powerful individual with regard to an election. And one of the job descriptions I've seen says some of them can get paid 200 grand a year. All paid for out of your council tax. Now, where a problem has been identified, the returning officers could have said, okay, recount the whole lot. Well, why haven't they? It's going to a court hearing. It's going to appeals at the cost of many thousands of pounds. Mad, huh? Now, going back to Graham, here's a working class bloke who's doing this for you. I want to play you a video that Graham has put together, which lays it out very, very exactly.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Right, people. The High Court has now made an order for costs. Whilst they struck out the order for costs for the returning officer and Sarah Pochin, the two people she allowed costs but reduced their costs massively was Royal Mail from £80,000 to £12,500. And then the police Cheshire Constabulary was 12,350. So all in all, it's just under 25 grand. I have to raise that in 13 days, right? So we had a GoFundMe. If I don't pay it within the 13 days, I'm automatically barred from ever bringing a case again in this country. So you'll never hear my voice in the High Court again for you. Importantly, if they bankrupt me, I will never, ever stand in another election again, ever, right? Now, just to make sure I'm clear on this, none of this money goes to me. It goes to the other side. At some stage in the future, we're going to have a big win, right, financially through this system. And that money goes back. I will never keep it for myself. It is for the English Constitution Society, which is going to be set up as a trust. And we will be training people to represent people externally from the barrister or the bar system and the Solicitor Society, etc. Because I have always believed that that system is a monopoly and people are not being represented with their constitutional or common law rights. I mean the real constitution, the real common law rights, not the nonsense you see on YouTube. So I am asking that people come forward to pay that. We have had some large donations. One person has just donated in a singular form £1,000. It's a tall ask to try and recover 25 grand in 13 days, but that is what we are doing, right? So if I'm in good standing with the court, I can represent you again. If I'm not, they won't allow it. If they bankrupt me, I am financially ruined, right? So I just want to make sure that people understand that. And we did get their costs down, but the High Court agreed and said it was grossly inappropriate, £80,000, and they reduced their fees all the way down to 12,500. They've had a massive slap in the face, and the judiciary can see that the other side, meaning the returning officer, they basically said you can't have any costs. Mr. Moore won against you, so we're not. And that was a massive. That was again well in excess of £100,000. I think he was on his way up to 200 grand. So we've won that. So 25 grand in reality. So what, if you've got it, I ain't got it, and the mainstream media are deliberately not publicising this case. They are complicit in subverting the English constitution and the freedom of election. And if there's anyone out there with any belief in the law of this land, they would assist us. Again, we stand for everyone. The constitution is not racist. Nowhere does it mention race at all. The people in charge of the media, meaning mainstream media and alternative media, are in effect denying you justice by not allowing this to be publicised in any way. They are complicit with subverting the English constitution. And all I'm doing is putting a request out. The link for the GoFundMe is going to be there. Try and send this to as many people as possible. Send it to Elon Musk. I'm amazed that he hasn't stepped in to help us, but it's because not enough people have sent this information to him. I am sure that he will understand we're not the bad guys. We're constitutionalists. We're standing up for England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And we are, in effect, against the unitary state of Great Britain, or the British, in relevance to they are a communist in nature. We are not communists and we are not fascists. We are English, and we have an English constitution that we shared with the United States of America. It has become the greatest nation on earth because of its constitution and small government. That's it. So try and get this message out. I will see you live tonight at 8 p.m. On the Full English Show on Rumble and also on Twitter. So again, share this with Elon Musk. It is crucially important that he sees this. Thank you for your time on this matter. As a famous man once said, more than once. And again, let's win this country back constitutionally via the rule of law, as it should be, non-politicised. Thank you.
There you go. I hope that kind of tells you things from the financial aspect. You can see across the bottom there the GoFundMe link, and I'll paste this into the chat as well. This is the actual GoFundMe page. Now, when I set this up probably a couple of hours ago, that was on 4.5 grand. It's now on nearly 8 grand. Now, I'm going to refresh this. Again, nearly 8 grand. There's donations coming in all the time. If you are able to, could you help Graham? If you are able to, obviously don't leave yourself strapped if you can't. But at the very least, please share that crowdfunder in as many places as you possibly can. And there's some people, I mean, look, Quentin Rowling's 500 quid. There are some people that are chucking some hefty donations in there because they realise how important this whole thing is. It's massive, not only for, well, Graham, not only for us, but really democracy itself is at stake here. And as Graham pointed out, the fact that this isn't being spoken about by the mainstream media at all really goes to show what the problem is. I'm personally disappointed in new media, to be honest with you, because no one, again, is talking about this. I saw Paz mentioned, and I had a word with Paz the other day, and he has got a day off on Thursday, and he's going to try and meet me at the court. He's going to try. Whether he gets there or not, I don't know. It'd be good to see him because he's my friend, but yeah, you know, we'll see what happens. But please share this in as many places as you can. I've seen many people in the comments say, talk to Ben, talk to Ben. Now, I want to make something very clear, right, where I stand on this. I support Advance, and I support Advance because I recognise that Advance are a very well-financed, large platform which stand in good stead to get these bastards out of there and return our government to the hands of our people. But the problem is with Advance, you need to be talking to the right people in the right places at the right time. And you need to be identifying England. You need to be identifying Scotland. You need to be identifying Wales. You need to be identifying Northern Ireland, our countries, our sovereignty, not the unitary state that is the United Kingdom, our constitution. I won't go into detail because it's private, but I had a brief conversation with Ben Habib the other day via phone, WhatsApp, and he acknowledges that the Constitution has had a lot of damage done to it and it needs to be sorted out. And that also includes our right to free and fair elections. Look what's happening. This affects literally everybody, everywhere that's ever voted or everyone that's ever stood in an election. This is massive. And one man on his own is dealing with all this. So if you know a politician, if you know anyone in positions of power, authority, whatever it happens to be, then please have a word with them. I've donated. If you can donate, you know, great. But the most important thing of all is Thursday itself. This right now is the crux of it all. The election petition appeal challenge by returning officer and Sarah Pochin. Now, if any problems have been found, the returning officer can be in a world of shit. Sarah Pochin is involved because she's effectively a beneficiary of what's happened. She's been returned as the MP for Runcorn Helsby, albeit allegedly fraudulently. So this Thursday, the Royal Courts of Justice is going to be an appeal challenge to try and get this November petition hearing knocked out. It's going to start at 10 a.m. in the morning and it's going to go through till 4 p.m. That's a very long day. So if you can make it, please get there. We need to pack out those galleries. You have a lower gallery and you have an upper gallery. We need to pack out the place. If you're friends with your MP, if you're friends with any high-profile people, tell them to get their ass down there. We need to show public interest in this case. We need to show that people care. People are taking notice. You know, in one of the hearings, one of the directions hearings, Graham had two people from the American embassy turn up and say, we're interested in this. This is how big it is. And as he said himself, we share our constitution with America. Where do you think they got theirs from? The English. Again, that's how big this is. Now, I'm going to be there Thursday. I'm going to be leaving Thanet probably about 6:30 in the morning to get my backside up there. There is a cafe and a pub opposite the Royal Courts, and Graham's going to be there from about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to get there as close to that as possible. And we all go in as English together, support Graham, support each other, support the cause, and start trying to take back our country legally and peacefully. That is the main thing. Now, I'm going to go through the comments because there's a few of you that have made some comments on here. And before I do, again, please share this. subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and do whatever you can and whatever you have to support Graham in this, after all, grand endeavour. Sanity Checkers, hello, my friend. Sanity Checkers is an old friend of mine off YouTube. He's just coming back again, trying to get his channel started, and I'd appreciate it if people could lend him some support. He's into current affairs analysis, that kind of stuff, the same as I am. So welcome back, my friend, after a very long period away. Rigged Nigel 1, Golden Child 68. This is the thing, isn't it? We can't have any faith in our elections with all this going on. This case needs support. It needs exposure. And as I already said, the mainstream media, new media, politicians of note, even though this affects them. Sometimes I wonder, because England and the English Constitution is bubbling up to the surface, is this the problem? Particularly for the bloody communists that are in power right now, the Constitution of England can cause them a lot of problems. Oh, real YouTube handle names are on. Bloodnose. Bloodnose? Bloodnose, you mean? Hope you're well, my friend. Good to see you. That's my moderator who looks after the chats usually. Craig, hello, Craig. Of course it's rigged, but Nigel and Deform are all just wolves in sheep's clothing. Be careful what you wish for. At the end of the day, they're just full of Tories, they're full of Labour, and they're lurching to the left every bloody day. I'm not impressed. I'm not going to be voting for them. Look up Ashby versus White, 1703. It's very important you must lend your consent, or alternately turn up and say you are not giving your consent. Both are legal votes. Both need to be counted. Speak to me, I demand a response. Hello, Groucho Marx. Good to see you. Another regular to the channel. Dave, the MSM are being secretly financed by Marxists. They will never admit to this, but it's only a question of time before the books get looked at by the next government. Yeah, and it's down to people like me, a working class geezer that drives a cab, sitting in his garage, gobbing off. It's a sad state of affairs. And I will continue to talk about this. You know, when I'm in the court, I'm going to try and live tweet on proceedings if I can. I'm going to get a bit of filming, try and grab Graham to talk to, do whatever I can to raise awareness of this. Annie, good to see you. Good afternoon. Laughing at Starmer in the that's hilarious, wasn't it? You know, oh, look, I'm going to talk. I'm going to be more important. Yes, piss off back there. That made my day. It really did. And I've retweeted a few laughs about it. President Trump knew Starmer was there. He was trolling him. Starmer looked like he was caught with his finger in the cookie jar. He did, didn't he? It's funny as hell. All Marxist governments fix elections. We have a major issue with, you know, our system of government in this country. That much is abundantly clear. Communism, Marxism, fascism, whatever you want to call it, all of which under English law is not allowed. And I'm just digging out this passage in this book again because, you know, it's very, very important. And I've got so many ruddy screened got it right. You know, it's very, very important that people understand that the laws are there. Here you go. There. Purge procedure. Anyone with communist or fascist intentions, out the bloody door. You know, the Crown and the Executive. That's straight out of Halsbury's Laws of England. Take note. Anyway, let's have another look at these comments. We've got a few to get through. Right. Andy, look what happened to Andrew Bridgen in Northwest Leicestershire. Absolutely. And I remember the day after that, I paid particular attention to what was going on with Andrew because I was interested to see whether he was elected. And something didn't look right about where he was, the numbers or anything else. You know, and you get the feeling, as Dean says, dirty tricks. You get the feeling something happened there. Absolutely. Groucho Marx, President Trump has no respect for the traitors in number 10. Trump despite protestations to the contrary, knows what's going on. He sees what's going on. He's no fool, and he's playing. He's playing. He can see what's what. Dean James, no wonder Labour got in on a minority. That's right. If you look at it, they got a very low, well, it's like 30-something% of the vote, wasn't it? But then if you look at the turnout of the vote, that was very low as well. And what you've got to think on top of that is in all the constituencies, how much of this funny business was going on. And it's about time somebody called it out. Graham is calling it out. And about time too. We need to get behind this effort. Jamie, we need true independence in the count. Absolutely. I mean, what happens, you get the ballot boxes delivered, of course, and you've got the counts going on. Where it falls down is where they're bundled and then stapled together, and they just put another one on the top and on the bottom. And where they do a bundle count rather than an individual ballot count, then that's where it kind of slips through, really. Make you wonder how long they've been doing this. It does, doesn't it? I think they've been doing it for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And thank you for the £2 super chat. Very much appreciated. Here's another one here. Tony, again, thank you for the £2 super chat. Thank you, Graham. Exactly. Thank you, Graham. He is taking a hell of a risk because he was looking at £500,000 court costs. £500,000. And he's worried they could bankrupt him over 25 grand. 25 grand. And also it proves, and again, where you look at the experience I had with Noel Wilcox recently, justice, law is very much a closed door to normal working class everyday people. It's them and us. But Graham, being a constitutionalist and very knowledgeable about English law, can throw loads of stuff at them. Look, presidents, there are cases going back to the 1700s, for example, which you can go to. They are actual proper president. Thank you very much, Dean. Posted on GB News. I've tagged them multiple times. What do I get? Nothing. None of the mainstream media want to go near this because I think they realise and they identify what a powder keg could blow if, this saw the light of day. It needs to. Honeybee 8381, Gabby Cabby being paid by the leftists. I've got 2 words for you, Honeybee. Fuck off. I'm not interested in your shit or anybody else's that leaves crap like that on my channel. There's about 3 or 4 comments like that you left, and I've bookmarked this one to call you out. I'm not being paid by the leftists, rightists, or anything else. The only one that pays me is my customers when I take them to the airport. Fuck off. I've barred you. You come back, I'll bar you permanently. Am I clear? Good. English Constitution Party. Learn about the English Constitution. That's a very good link there, so you can learn all about them. As I said, I'm a supporter of both. And it really, for the reasons I've laid out, we need to look beyond the way the party system is set up. It's everybody has knowledge. Everybody needs to come together. The right people in the right place at the right time, as I always say. Pass49 says he has a digital ID uploaded to his phone, erased it, then uploaded it again after each update. My phone, which is Android, not iPhone, keeps wanting to do an update. And I keep saying, no, I'm not having it. So I'm wondering whether they're going to try and sneak that on mine. I have to keep you posted and let you know. I'm an employer. I'm not going to have it. I won't accept it. And, they've tried to force this in our lives on the quiet. Rick H. style, the point that if you do not vote, you're a slave, really hits home. Absolutely. You get the freemen of the land types, and you get people that are just disenchanted. The disenchanted, I don't blame you. The freemen of the land types aren't helping. When you say, I'm not going to vote, or what's the point? What you are doing, you are aiding and abetting their ability to carry on regardless. That's what you are doing. That's what you have to get into your head. Now, you've heard Ashby versus White mentioned, 1703. There's a guy turned up at an election, wanted to vote, and he was refused. He got the ump, so he sued. The net result of the whole thing, in brief, this case forms a very underpinning part of our electoral law, our English law. And it basically goes on about it's your consent to give or to take away. So if you turn up at an election booth and you think, nah, I don't want to do that, you write, I do not consent, Ashby versus White, 1703. Write it in a pen, shove it in a box, and piss off. They have to count those votes. What you get, if you get the votes of the MP here, and you get the I do not consents up here, that's a constitutional crisis right there. Just saying. People need to think about it. Yeah. It depends on the judges on the day. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But there are certain elements of this which are going to be taken in another way. It's not the end of the story, but the important thing is, at least at this stage, we need to make sure that Graham gets the backing, both financially, spiritually, and morally, that he deserves to see this through to the end. And as I said earlier, if anybody's there, anybody can share, back up, talk to anybody in the know, talk to people that you may know to get this pushed through. So much the better. He needs the backing. It'd be nice if someone with a spare 20 grand in their pocket could boost that thing up, wouldn't it? Problem solved. Tony, is it true that if a person does not vote, that vote goes to the winning party? You know, that is a good question, and I do not know the answer to that. I'm going to look that up. I'll see what I can find out. That's very, very interesting question. Wouldn't surprise me, really. Rick Stiles, so how do we get this traitorous lot of criminals out and install the Constitution? Well, the Constitution, or the English Constitution, is being buried. It's being sidelined and shoved under the rug. You know, ever since the early 1970s, they took this off of the school curriculum. They don't want people to know about it. They've removed it from sight. I had a lady comment to me that she was taught it in the 50s. They used to teach police officers the Constitution. It's important. I'm aware of another case going on at the moment with another contact of mine where the government are using the Bill of Rights to defend themselves with. You acknowledge one part of the Bill of Rights, it means the whole lot's active. So the Constitution is there. What we have to do, we have to teach each other what's going on through avenues like this. Graham is going all over the country. He'll go anywhere that wants him, and he will do a seminar. And I'll leave one as an end screen on the end of this video so you can go and watch it. He will do a seminar, and he will go through what your rights, what the laws actually are, what they entail, and what you are actually allowed to do. And really, what you have to do to change things, get things sorted. We've got to talk to our friends. We've got to talk to our families. We've got to get people engaged. People tell me all the time they're bored with politics. They're pissed off with it. For fuck's sake, wake up. It encourages, you know, this to continue. Everybody needs to get engaged with the process. Otherwise, it's all over. You know, you want to hand your country on a plate to someone else. People need to be getting engaged. Dean James, your guess is as good as mine. Graham knows of one of the judges. We'll have to see, you know, what happens, right? We'll have to see what happens. But again, this is so gargantuan, the consequences of this. Anything could happen. But what you have to understand, Graham, us, who he's representing, are entitled under English law to a thing called due process. And if we don't get that, that in itself is a problem. You see, when the system breaks down, and this is the same when you petition the government as well, there's only one alternative. None of us want to see that. None of us want to see that, do we? That's the thing. So we need to explore every legal avenue we can. Vote Advance UK, folks. Yes, but you can vote for who you like if there is no integrity and there is no sanctity within our system of election. You could vote for Aunt Flo down the road and she wouldn't get in if a returning officer decided otherwise. That comment is very much the point in all of this. Thank you very much, Irresistible Grace. I appreciate it. Simbury 1. This is clearly the truth, but the consequences of the court finding in Graham's favour is so vast, I can't see that it will go ahead. It's a conspiracy, and that is the only word for it. I've seen the evidence. I've been shown the evidence. I've been shown the skeleton argument. And, you know, there is enough there for Graham to be fair, for them to find in his favour. Simple as that. If they do find in his favour on Thursday, then that means that the election petition hearing in November in Chester will go ahead, where they will present their evidence, show what happened, and then we're in the lap of the gods. Now, if he wins, what will happen then? Wow. 77 people have just made a donation. Wonderful, everybody. Very much appreciated. And I know Graham will be absolutely elated at that. Thank you very much. I will let him know. I'll message him as soon as we're off here. Now, if Graham wins this on Thursday, that election hearing will go ahead in November. And then if it's found in his favour, and there is ample evidence to prove that this is true, and what you've got to look at it as well is, if there wasn't a problem, why didn't the returning officer, $9,000? That's wonderful, $9,000. Why didn't the returning officer just order a full ballot recount? Why is it going to appeal? Ask yourself that. What are they hiding? This is democracy. This is our vote. This is our sovereignty. They don't select. We elect. And we need to get back to that. Now, if he wins, what can happen is we can have a full ballot recount. So they'll have to individually count every single one. The election can be annulled. There is actually precedent for that. I've seen it. I've been shown it where an election got annulled years ago because of evidence of widespread corruption. Graham could lose and get told, listen, pal, it ain't happening. Or there could be some other remedy. Those are all the options. If that poll beats the highest vote, it becomes a constitutional crisis and they cannot name an MP. That is the I do not consent thing. If you have no one to vote for, right across your ballot, I do not consent. All spoiled ballots go into one pile and are counted. Absolutely. There's so much as well that they don't tell you. They don't tell you. Bloodnose has just put a shorter link for the GoFundMe in. When this live is over, I will leave a link to that in the description for this live stream. So if you can chuck a few quid Graham's way, that'd be very much appreciated. He can't go bankrupt, not after everything he's trying to do for all of us. He can't. Impossible. We can't allow it to happen. And the result of this, yeah, totally gargantuan. Totally and utterly gargantuan, really. Anyway, folks, thank you very much. Thank you ever so much for listening. Appreciate it very much. I will be online at some point tomorrow with something, whether it be talking about this again or we might do something different. Anybody that can make it on Thursday, if you can obviously get to the court before 10 o'clock, between 9 and past would be great. Royal Courts of Justice. What I'm doing, I usually go to St Pancras, get on the Underground at King's Cross, go to Covent Garden, the Underground there, and then it's a 5-minute walk to the court. That's the way I do it, but it depends what direction you're coming from. And I look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible. There is a pub and a cafe literally bang across the road from the court, which is where Graham will be drinking coffee when he first gets there, probably having a fag as well somewhere. And yeah, we'll see what the day brings. But be prepared. It's a long day, 10 till 4. Thanks again, everybody. Make sure sharing is caring. Tag whoever you can in this. People need to know what's going on. We need to do the mainstream's job for them. We need to do new media's job for them. Because at the end of the day, I seem to be the only one talking about this. Good night, everyone. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.